Welcome, reanimated fans, to this week's podcast. I'm H.A. Conrad, coming to you from Brooklyn. Joining me from the West Coast is my favorite intrepid co-host, Stuart Tiffin. Hello, Stuart.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. And we have a few news items, but before we get to our review recap, and today we're going to be talking about The Dead, which is a 2010 movie with Rob Freeman and Prince David Osei. And I have a lot to talk about with you about this film. So I'm excited to do that. But before we jump into that, let's talk about a couple of little tidbits. One thing I'm not excited to talk about is that apparently scientists are creating basically zombie cells, or like they're bringing cells back to life in dead bacteria, which is... I don't know that we need this right now. What do you think, Stuart?
Do we ever really need this? I
I
mean,
mean,
the reason for doing it is to create sustainable fuels, pharmaceuticals, and new materials. They're doing this with yeast right now. So I guess, could you see, I'm not enough of a biologist to understand how reactivating dead yeast could create like maybe a infinite energy loop or something. I don't know. But sure, it's cool in theory, but it's absolutely the blueprint for a zombie apocalypse.
yeah, I don't know that this is a good idea. You know, and they basically, what the idea of this is like with these bacterial cells, they're injecting like a working genome of another species into it to revive them. This just sounds like a this just sounds like a bad idea to me. Like, bad things can happen.
How many bad
Um,
ideas have we talked about on this podcast, though? Like putting
many.
new brains into monkey heads. I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff out there.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't. Some of this is concerning to me. But we'll have to hope that they're fighting the good fight and doing things that won't leave us in danger. But
Yeah. On the
I
bright
don't
side,
know.
HA, this is happening in California, so you'll have plenty of time to prep
And
and
you hope
fortify your apartment.
maybe you can run for the border. I don't know. But anyway. So that's going on in things that I wish I didn't know about. And in other news, oh, this seems like a real stretch, and I don't know what I. This
Oh,
seemed.
come on, HA, this is Undead Walking. Come on.
I know, and they were like, Kirkman's double
Here's
down.
an article idea.
Mm. Anyway, I think this probably, to me, this came on the heels of the whole Firefly thing, and maybe they're like, yes. But
Oh,
anyway,
sure. Yeah.
they were talking about the fact that Robert Kirkman is not opposed to having an animated series that would be true to the Walking Dead comics. There isn't really a lot of substance to this, other than he thought it would be a great idea. But we'll see. I would say stranger things have happened, because these are the kinds of things that sometimes get put out there into the universe and then get a lot of traction and
Yeah.
support. So
I've
I think
never
this.
understood AMC's whole approach. I mean, I don't anymore understand AMC's
No,
approach to the Walking Dead franchise that they own. It feels like they're petering out. So maybe they'll be willing to sell him back the
maybe.
rights. But also, I don't know. They seem to hold on to this kind of
They
thing.
do. And I don't know that they exactly have a great relationship with him. So
No,
I
he
could see
sued them
them.
successfully, or did
Yeah,
he lose his suit? I forget.
I don't know where it is now, but he sued him a
Darabont
few
won. I think
times.
maybe
Yep.
Kirkman lost, but either way, they've been at odds in court. So
Yeah. And in any case, we'll keep an eye on this, see if
how
anything
great would
comes
that
of
be
it.
for the fans, right? Like,
It would
yeah,
be. It
I,
would be.
I definitely would look for news about this, but also, animated shows have a really long lead time. Like,
Hmm.
even if all the stars aligned, this would take a while to happen.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but we can hope and dream.
Let's
So,
hope and dream.
yep. And then last up is the documentary that I think it either has premiered, or I think it has premiered at South by Southwest, Black Zombie, and this is basically a documentary that talks about the origin um of like the zombie horror genre, and it's actually seems pretty interesting. So this apparently is directed by Maya Onik Bedward, and she's a Canadian director. And she did a bunch of interviews with a ton of people, like historians, everything like that, just to talk about how we got from White Zombie to Dawn of the Dead to Serpent and the Rainbow to 28 years later, and tying all of these things together with roots in voodoo and historical issues like civil rights and slavery and things like that. And so looks pretty fascinating. So I definitely want to check it out. And apparently this had been in the hopper for a while, but COVID and other things slowed it down. So I'm pretty excited to take a look at this, and maybe we will review it depending on when we have access to it.
That's
Um,
that's a that's a good idea. I would be interested to learn about how some of my, comfortably held preconceptions about voodoo are might be way off base because of, like you said, Serpent and the Rainbow. One of the first films we reviewed for this podcast was steeped in theoretically like for realsies Haitian voodoo. I remember voodoo also from Mayfair Witches. There was a voodoo plot line that Anne Rice had written into that story, and
mhm.
there was voodoo in some James Bond films, right? Like there's been voodoo in our popular culture for more than a minute.
Yeah, and I think it just puts things into a different context. I also want to throw out here that one of the people that she interviews is Slash, for
What?
this. So yeah, I don't know, I'm actually pretty excited to watch this. So um, we'll have to check it
I
out.
saw a headline recently that he was underwriting a zombie movie, but maybe was it this?
I think it may have been. And then other things that really kind of excite me about this are there's like a section about Tom Savini's makeup and through Dawn of the Dead and how that affected his career and things like that. So there's a lot of interesting things within this, I think, for fans that would find they would find really interesting. So I think we're
Hmm.
going to add it to our list and
Yeah.
see when we it is available, and we'll report back. But I just thought that was pretty cool, and its premiere at South by Southwest was actually very positive. So
Okay.
we will have to check it out. But we're not talking about this zombie film today, so we're going to be talking about this other zombie film.
Speaking of
Um,
African
yes,
diasporas,
right.
I'm sure this is not helping anybody's like
Mm.
conception that white people telling African stories is it works every time 100% of the time.
Yeah, there's some problems with this one. There's
I
some
mean,
big,
maybe yes. There's one huge white knight shaped
yeah,
problem
yes,
with this film,
correct.
but okay, this is a Ford Brothers film. These are British independent directors. They Ford Brothers are all over this film. I don't know if you watched the
Mm,
credits
yes,
afterward.
they are.
Yeah, not just the Ford Brothers, but their kids,
Yeah,
their
everybody's in
spouses,
it.
perhaps their
Hmm.
in-laws. They both of the Ford brothers, Howard and John, have cameos as well as were the camera operators, the writers,
Yeah.
or maybe co-writers and co-directors. They were these guys were all over it. And if you look at their IMDb or their filmography, they've been one of them kind of stopped doing films after the sequel to this that came out in 2013. But maybe he did one or two others after that. But the other one is still going strong with films that you probably have not heard of, but that are a real adventure romp.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so let's talk about the things that you just named. A couple of things I was like about this film. There's some things I really like about it, which is the setting. I thought that the filmmaking and the stripped down kind of like um just the the landscape and the actors, like the cast, I thought was excellent. I thought the effects were practical and were
Hmm.
effective. And these
Hmm.
are not, to be like open. Although a couple of times they get into like more fast zombies territory. For the most part, we're talking
Yeah,
about
there's an interesting approach that they like every so
yeah,
often the zombies really accelerate as they get within
right.
6 inches to 2 feet of their victim.
Yeah. But for the most part, these are like more of the shambling.
Very little
Um,
steps they take.
yeah, like just slow in just but just kind of this unending like push forward.
I,
So,
I got to tell you, H.A.
which,
Conrad, I
mhm,
love this approach to zombie storytelling.
yeah.
This I've
So
always been a slow zombie fan, and here I feel like this movie, scene after scene, and you might think it was way too many scene after scene after scene for because you thought the movie was too long, but they stop for 5 minutes. They do an activity. They look around. There's like 20 zombies suddenly
Yep.
there.
Yep. I like
Yeah.
that. And I also, and but the things that I really, you just, I mean, you immediately pointed out my biggest issue with this, which is I was very excited when the character of Sergeant Daniel
Daniel. Yeah.
was introduced. He's a great actor. He just did, there were some phenomenal scenes, especially in the beginning with him. And I was really hoping he was the hero here. And it did not turn out that way. Instead, it's the annoying guy. And I just couldn't, and he's so, and I think the script is pretty, bland and could use a lot of work, but Daniel is the most interesting character to me. And I just, like, this is, again, we spoil everything, but this turns into a White Knight tale, which I really thought it could have just been so much better if they had just thought through this a little bit. But anyway, um, I do think that the overall setting was great. I know that they had a lot of challenges filming this. So there may be a reason that everybody that they know is actually in this, which may be because they had so many challenges
What
shooting
challenges?
this film. So apparently there was just a lot of issues with weather and with just getting permissions and like I think that this went on a really long time. So like it's beautiful, beautiful setting.
There's
So
yeah, they
I
shot this in Ghana and Burkina Faso, and then there was at least one unit in the UK, but I don't know if that was post production.
yeah, I think maybe that was post production.
I mean, there's a shot of Brian Murphy's front door, but that could have been in Africa.
Mm, true.
I don't know.
Um, anyway, but definitely a lot of issues trying to shoot this, but I just love the fact that it is in this like amazing landscape and
Yeah.
just really incredible locations.
Well, and
The
they let the location basically do so much of the heavy lifting
yeah,
because there's not
it's
a ton of dialogue in this film.
no, and
Every so
yeah,
often somebody says something, but and maybe that's one of the weaknesses too, is that with the dialogue that they commit to doing, it doesn't really help with character development very much. Certainly, Brian Murphy, we have almost no idea what this dude's about, except every so often he thinks about his wife and kid.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, by the end of the film, you're like, who was this guy? Like, what? What's his deal? I'm really confused about why he's even in Africa because he's like supposed to be a mercenary. That's what Daniel accuses him of being. He's certainly hanging out with a bunch of mercenaries at the beginning of the film, but he's having visions of himself dressed in his navy whites, like his nice uniform. He's giving out his navy rank on the radio whenever he finds a
Yep.
radio. And so it's like, well, okay. Uh, I guess you're a mercenary who was once in the Navy and you still identify as a Navy guy, perhaps. That could certainly be the case.
I think he was doing that just to have any kind of
Like official
yeah,
anything.
yeah. But I think he was making an escape out because he keeps saying, I'm an engineer, I'm not part of any of this. So he's very convenient when he chooses to,
Well, I think he's not lying. Like he was the
yeah,
basically the airplane mechanic at the
yeah.
beginning of well, the film starts with a cold open that I think is kind of spoilery. I think they want to show
It
you
is.
that cold open to make you think, "Whoa, what a badass!" Like it's
Yep.
Lawrence of Arabia. Um,
Also problematic.
also slightly
Not
problematic.
slightly. Like this is and here's I think where I have a lot of issues is that like, they're filmmakers that have come into this country and think it's great that they're um have a really fantastic cast and that they're using all these very cool locations, but I just think that the storytelling could have been just so much more supportive of a different kind of story here.
Yeah.
And this specific one to me is just like, oh wow, you really went there. So it was truly troublesome. And but let's talk about the film then.
So after that,
Like,
after that cold open, where unfortunately we see what he's wearing, we see the things that he's carrying, we see that he's still alive and that he's by himself. Like those are the main problems with that opening 5 minutes.
mhm.
Would the film have been better if they just started in the airplane? I don't know. That's pretty abrupt.
Yeah, and I don't I guess but I think they probably could have, and
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they made this decision. It was to me kind of dumb, but um I don't know. It's whatever. So we see him in the airplane. I mean, the things that I really did like about this is that you know, we get to see immediately what kind of zombies these are. We see different, we see them on the plane, and what havoc they are causing. We see them in the village, and it's so upsetting and traumatic, and just seeing, these are your neighbors and friends, and people that have like kind of survived on the plane, and this is just nobody's getting out alive, basically. So I thought that I really liked how chaotic and scary and tumultuous this all was at the beginning. And to me, it's like, why wouldn't you have started the movie out this way? So
Yeah.
that's kind of my take on it.
I would have liked maybe to see the fight that got them onto the plane too.
Maybe,
Even
yeah.
just, but then they need a plane, which they didn't have for their film.
Yeah, true.
Uh, so
They just
yeah,
had a very weird set, so there you go.
yeah, they had a
Um,
box that they could film this plane scene in. And you could see in the plane that like multiple people were wounded. Multiple people had bites. One of them was actively dying and turning into a zombie.
yep.
One of the pilots, I think, was badly wounded and probably from a zombie bite. So, like, as a zombie audience member, we're just like, well, this is a ticking time bomb. And, Brian Murphy, a shaven Brian Murphy who looks quite different than he does in the opening 5 minutes, is sitting there just like, I told you guys the plane wasn't ready. This is a bad idea. This is all going to go badly. And it does. And you've got like a guy getting bit and shooting himself. You got screaming babies, which is always an ingredient that takes the tension of any scene and ratchets
Hmm.
it up. And yeah, so we don't see their plane crash, but we like cut to him in the water basically.
Yeah. And I do like, look, the effects, these are the things that I think the film was very strong with. I thought that the effects were practical and very much like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead-esque, in that, we have these shambling zombies coming through, but then and some of them are like really good. Like some of the people, like the zombies are like legless and crawling, and for the people that were injured on the plane, you have the one army guy that's like got this knee wound, which you can tell is a practical, like, whatever, but it's kind of great that they do this really well. It's very disgusting and gory and whatever. And so I don't know. I really liked that aspect of it, that this is like, oh, this is this kind of a zombie film, and you know that off the bat,
Yeah.
and kind of fun.
They also
And
really went for it with the amputee population of
yep.
Ghana or Burkina Faso.
Yeah, I know. It was like,
Including
whew,
like in that first 5 minutes, they spend some time with a zombie who has a compound fracture in one of their legs. This guy probably
yeah.
has some sort of leg disability because his it's very yeah. So he has a limp, and they're putting in some Foley work, which I think all the Foley work was done in China, perhaps based on the. Anyway, this movie is a wild ride, but it's good Foley work. Like they put this click click in whenever the zombie is walking. The zombies are mostly recognizable by their eye contacts because they have white
Mhm.
contact lenses. It's more pronounced and noticeable, I think, in the black African actors as opposed to the white people who turn into zombies. They just kind of look, I mean, yeah, it's a little less shocking.
Right. Um, but I also like how this scene on the beach really sets up um what we think about our anti-hero, or whatever you might think of him.
Yeah,
Like,
and this is the scene that has both of the Ford brothers in it. Like
yep.
Holly was watching this with me. She's like, "Do all the white people just look the same in this movie?" I was like, "Yeah, they kind of do." And then we realized it's
No,
because
they are the same people. Yep.
66% of those guys were related to each other at least. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, so one guy is badly wounded. He's never going to get off that beach. The other guy gets up and runs and doesn't stop to help Brian. and Brian is dead set on getting into this box, which he's been holding on to.
Yeah, and I like this is the one part where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I do like how the choreography and like the how this chain of events happens is pretty good to some extent, but I just don't think he would have survived. But this is one of the places where the zombies suddenly start to speed up as they get closer to him. I do think that that's kind of a good, like, kind of an interesting idea, which is like maybe they get so excited that they're going to eat. But he takes them out very quickly and very easily with his suddenly easily loaded gun, which
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know that that would have worked, but
I mean,
cool.
he must have packed that box. He must have known that there was a loaded gun
Maybe.
in there, but why he packed a loaded gun into that box with a really strong padlock, I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
like the fact that he has the time to try and like break into this box while this other guy's getting eaten and several zombies are on their way to him is just, yeah, I love that sort of tension. I have some time to do this, but I don't have a ton of time. And then I can run off, but eventually I'm going to get tired and need to stop and rest, but they're not going to. Yeah, I just love that so much.
Yep.
Then we kind of follow his story. We've met Daniel. We've met Daniel, who has returned to his village and discovered that his son got away thanks to the one last survivor, who he then has to kill when she turns, which is pretty
Yep.
intense. Is that one of the scenes that you enjoyed with him early on?
Yes, definitely. That was pretty
He's a
good.
good actor, Prince David Osei.
Oh, he is totally good. Like when he goes into the village and he discovers basically, and you know, like you can get the sense he knows the place, and he's just absolutely gutted, haha, by the scene, all the guts and things like that, and then coming across what I think maybe his grandmother or another person in the village.
He uses a name. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
He
Who
says
knows?
something like anyway, and that interaction between them is really great, and it sets up everything. So it sets up the fact that his son had been there, um, and that his son is alive and has survived and is being taken to this base in the north. But it also sets up just how devastating this whole thing must be
I mean, that's his wife's
because
remains in their house, right? So he,
yeah, yeah. So it's like his wife is gone and devastating because now even this last survivor who manages to impart these things to him, and they do such a great job here after he, she basically tells him this, and then it cuts to like a scene later where he's just looking around the village, and you don't even see her in like full like they don't they make her blurry. You know exactly who she is because she's got like the same
Mhm.
clothing, and they like she's come back after she's died, and then he has to take her out, and it's really devastating. And but they do. I just thought that the filmmaking here was really well done. And so he's and I like this is what I was like, oh yes. I was very excited because I was like, this is the hero for sure. And unfortunately, that's not how it played out. So I was very disappointed. Maybe it's just my disappointment, but he's got the goal and to me the honorable goal, and it's incredibly clear what he needs to do, even though he has been and this comes up later, like he has been, and many of the people here have been working for the government or other entities, and his goal now is just to get his son. So that's where his loyalty is. And then a lot of the other people, their loyalty is to their villages and to keeping their people safe. And so
Yeah,
I
it's
really
kind of
thought that's
interesting. This movie does not go to the authoritarian government
no.
version of this story. It's mentioned slightly. Daniel m mentions that the roadblocks are manned by very scared soldiers who have killed a lot of people, but we never actually see a functioning government really, or any
Yeah.
like functioning military response that would have worked. Well, obviously, the film kind of takes some a journey. Uh, with Brian's story, although his name honestly I didn't know until he got on the radio so much later in the film. He has wandered inland and found this old Peugeot pickup truck that honestly I was amazed that they got running. It looks like a wreck. And
Okay,
so
so here's the interesting thing. Like Peugeots are actually like these incredible vehicles in that they have such longevity and you can keep those running forever. That said, what they show of what is in this in this truck
It doesn't
um
doesn't look super
does
useful.
not look promising.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I was like, they really made this look almost insurmountable, and it probably would have
Honestly,
been.
when they get to the airbase later on in the film and they show that one airplane, I'm like, maybe he could make it work. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't
it
have
made
wings. It didn't have any wings, but I was like, Brian could probably do something with this. I don't know. He got
yeah.
that Peugeot running and it ran for like most of the movie.
Hey, Peugeots are really good that way. They're like you can get them, and they are little workhorses.
And when you think
So,
about what they were driving on in this film, there's like no hard roads that they get to drive on. It's all just they're driving in the countryside. Luckily, I guess it's flat and
mm,
like they're just driving through bushes half the
hmm
time. It's kind of insane. This is not an off-road vehicle. It's just a
no,
old ass pickup truck, probably from
not
the
just that,
50s.
but it's riding pretty low. It's
Yeah.
like it's seen better days, but it's fine, fine. I guess that's your zombie apocalypse vehicle. Fine.
He's scooting through the countryside by himself and then gets stuck at a like a little river ford and is about to be killed. Like he's trying to push his car out. The zombies are coming because this is what they do every time they stop in this movie. Zombies, you haven't seen any for a while he's driving along or he's driving past them. Then he gets out of his car for 45 seconds and suddenly there are
Oh yeah,
zombies at every
at
direction.
every turn.
And he's definitely gonna die. And in fact, it looks like he's getting bit because this is when they do that thing where they get real
Mm-hmm.
fast when they're up close.
Yep.
But Daniel saves his ass
Yep.
and then is pointing a gun at him like he was going to shoot him.
Yep. Well, he
I
doesn't
think
know if he's bitten or not or any of those kinds of things, so I get
yeah,
that.
yeah. He's also quite skeptical of what a white man is doing here and
Hmm.
I thought you guys all left. I thought that that was at least appropriate that they tried to address some of this weirdness of like what are these white people doing here?
Yep.
There's another scene shortly and not too long after they decide to travel together where they go into a shack that's got
Yep.
two white zombies in it
Hmm.
and maybe they're missionaries. But what was the point of that?
I don't know. I don't.
Honestly,
There
that
was a
scene could have got cut because
there was like.
they kill a chicken in that scene
Hmm.
and Brian takes some morphine, but they never use the chicken or the morphine as far as I can
Right.
tell.
Right.
So I mean maybe they cooked the chicken in the at the end of the second act, but
Yeah.
it's that scene they didn't need. Like you could have just gone straight to the airbase,
Right.
which is their new mission. Like Brian's trying to fly out of town and he's like, "Hey, if you take me to the air if you show me where the airbase is, I'll give you this truck." And Daniel's like, "Yeah, you can't survive out here on foot and I've got to find my son."
Right. And like, to me, that's a lot of the issues with this film. I thought it could have been cut down into a much better way, and again, a better storyline. Um,
What's the length of this film?
it's about an hour and 45 minutes, which
Yeah. Could have
and I
gone for
just
90.
easily. And I think that maybe because of the difficulty of the film, they wanted to show all the things that they had done. That's possible. But there's a lot of problematic things, and even in them making the film, they were filming in places where, this is and they did have they did cast a lot of people and they employed a lot of people. And I think they just didn't want to give up on some of those scenes because of the difficulty in how long it took to shoot this.
Oh,
But I just thought that this would have been a much more interesting story if they had sort of turned it on its head a little bit and made it more centric on Daniel.
maybe those white zombies in the shack were producers.
Maybe, maybe.
Like, hey, I paid
Um,
a few $1,000s to be in your movie, so you better not cut my scene.
yeah. But anyway, Daniel is to me the best part of this whole film. But I think maybe they were trying to show the camaraderie between these two and the bonding between these two because there
And it's
really isn't a
so
lot of
quiet.
dialogue and it's really, but I just don't see that I feel it. I don't feel that these characters built really a lot of anything other than, we established that they're watching each other's backs. I will say that Brian is like, um, just always, it feels to me like it's always like the zombies are sneaking up on him somehow, which, if they're in the middle of the night, doing
Zombies are
whatever they're
sneaking
doing.
up on everybody in this
They
film.
are,
It's like
but
they don't step on branches. They
yes,
are taking their little mincing steps and being so
right.
quiet. And even when they're dragging their asses across the African landscape, Brian is like, you know, later on in the film just like happily pouring gasoline into a car. Maybe it's so
Yes,
loud he can't hear, but
I don't
like that
know.
one is very close to him when Daniel turns around is like, "Oh, there's a
Right.
zombie right there. I better kill it."
Right. And then even when, and again, spoilers here, but like even when we get to the worst scene in the movie, in my opinion, because it feels so avoidable, it's like they decide that they're gonna make a fire to cook
Oh, that's yeah, that's all the way that's
because
way later.
it is way later, but like,
That's the stupidest. That's like the least consistent thing that choice that they make in this
right,
film.
but then they also decide to sleep on the ground outside. Like, you
And
know exactly
both of
what's
them at the same time sleep.
both of
Not
them.
yeah.
And not just that, but like, okay, I think we can establish that your car is probably the safest place.
They crashed
Um,
their car at that point. They'd been on
I
foot
know,
for a while.
I guess, but still. Somewhere else is a better place to sleep. Maybe in the
They
tree, maybe with somebody keeping watch,
well,
something.
the tree comes into it later. Yeah, like I think maybe that's Brian showing that he's learned a lesson from sleeping on the floor.
Too late.
Yeah,
Too
much too late.
late.
I feel like Daniel would not. Daniel is a sensible guy. He would not have gone for the, hey, let's, and it's Brian's dumb idea. He's like, hey, let's risk a fire. I could
Yeah,
really use something to eat. And Daniel's
right.
just like, fine, let's die, I guess.
Yeah, like it's just dumb and like I don't know. Anyway, it really made me very upset because I was, and especially like, ugh. Anyway, and I guess if you really are thinking about it, maybe from a filmmaker's perspective, the point of all this like long journey is to show the long journey when Brian eventually gets to where he gets. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's kind of an odyssey, a little bit.
It is, except I was just like, I can't believe he made it. Like, I don't know. I was really not happy about it.
Well,
Um,
one of the moments of this film where they actually do get to talk a little bit is when they arrive at this village, and we've seen this. I think we've seen these soldiers when they were part of a convoy.
yeah.
I think that was the same group of people, and then I was like, "Oh, this is going to be the antagonistic human faction that
Hmm.
is like, you know, at odds with our heroes." But no, they were actually like, "Oh yeah, we've all gone AWOL too to protect our village.
Yeah.
This is
And it
where we're going to
wasn't
be
that
hanging
at
out."
all. It
It
wasn't
wasn't.
that at
It
all.
was kind of an interesting spin. Of course,
Hmm.
when you first meet the the head man, he's in his military uniform, and
Hmm.
then one scene later, he's chilling in his like civilian garb.
Yeah, and I mean the things I did like about this is that basically he's like, no, we're not going to go to this base. We're going to sit here and we're going to defend our villages. We're not leaving. And there is a bit of undertone there, so I think he understands that Daniel has to go there for his son, but there is definitely to me a little bit of judgment there where he's like, why are you doing this? Because this
Oh, I
is
thought it was we're all just gonna die here. I thought it was like more of a
well,
Jonestown vibe to
it's a
me
little bit of that, but it's also like,
because
go
he's like,
there if
"Hey,
you
I was
want.
born here and I'm gonna die here." Like he says
Yeah.
that quite pronouncedly. And I'm just like, "Yeah, you're gonna run out of ammo. Your village
Yeah.
does not have a wall,
Yeah.
you know."
And again, like even like aside from the zombie apocalypse and because of the zombie apocalypse, it's very clear that this is going to be a pretty like bad situation just with food and water and resources. So it's, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he's, I think a little bit of his comment is like I don't like going to this base is also a trade-off and this seems like a better idea, which is like tells you a little bit about what the situation has been even prior to this whole thing. So, um, it's really it's tragic and upsetting, and so I thought that that was a really interesting moment in the
Yeah.
film because Daniel's
Partially it's yeah, it's Daniel and the village chief and then Daniel wandering around looking at other
hmm
children and reacting to them like they're his, which was a bit
yeah
odd.
yeah
And then meanwhile, Brian has a fever, apparently, came out of
yeah
nowhere, and he's just sweating out and imagining his family
hmm
in a room. And honestly, it was pretty good timing for them to roll into that village because he was
hmm
not doing so hot, I guess, in the truck.
and
Um,
suddenly has a fever. We're all like, oh,
where did that
okay.
come from? Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And this town is like happy to have a feverish white guy just roll in.
Yeah,
I
because
don't know.
you would think that they were thinking that he was infected, right?
Right.
That maybe he's hiding a bite. I feel like they may not have let him in as easily as it appears that they did. So
So I'm not sure 100% why they needed to make him feverish, but it kind of got him out of the way for a scene or two, so that was fine.
maybe that's
They
why.
they leave the town again the next day. Daniel's like, "Your fever's broken. It's time to leave." Like great bedside manner.
Yep.
And they drive out, and immediately their car breaks down for
Hmm.
like the second time of the movie so far. And this time it's the old, why didn't they pee in the radiator? I feel like that happens. Maybe that's just in American films,
Yeah, I don't know.
but they pour their drinking water in there, and that's one of the few. Every so often, when there's a scene of dialogue between Daniel and Brian, it's often like an argument. In this case, it was like, "Hey, that's our drinking water. We have to cross the desert. What are you
Yeah,
doing?"
what
Says
are you
Daniel,
doing?
the local, and
Hmm.
Brian, the mechanic, is like, "Look, if we can't do that on foot anyway with the little water that we have, so it's this or nothing." And frustratingly, he turns out to be correct. Because
Yep.
the next scene, they drive up to a well, and I'm sure that Daniel's like, "God damn it, I didn't know this well was here."
Yep.
That well scene, I think, is like our supermarket scene,
Yeah, a little bit.
except that it's like, 2 minutes long. But, Daniel's uh splashing water on himself. Brian is like pouring water. It's like the sun is getting golden hour. But then as soon as they're done pouring water, like they're surrounded by zombies again. So like the fact that this film keeps telling us that you stop for 2 minutes and you're surrounded by
Yeah,
zombies makes that whole camping scene later just as
just
confusing.
yes, and not just a very ill-fated decision, and one that they should have known would have been an ill-fated decision, but
Yeah.
okay.
So their survival is basically only possible because of this Peugeot. Like this is the honestly a great commercial for Peugeot.
It really is.
So they get in their truck and drive away again. There's too many scenes of them driving at night with one of the Ford brothers sitting in the back seat of the Peugeot filming out the front windshield, and the
Yep.
headlights are illuminating next to nothing.
This was kind of what I'm saying. It's
It
like it
looks like they're
felt,
they're driving in circles too.
yeah, and I think this is one of the things where I got the distinct feeling that because of how hard it was probably to get some of these scenes that they just couldn't let it go, and it just seemed really too much. So anyway, yeah, I just think this was they could have made a lot of better editing decisions here for sure.
Yeah. This was the second sequence of night driving scenes that they had done too, because they
Yes.
drove all night before arriving in the village the day before. So by the time we got to this night driving scene, I was pretty over it. But I mean, it doesn't last forever. There's no dialogue to distract you anyway. But then, except then they do crash the car. And then they
Yep.
have their next argument, perhaps their last argument, which is turn the headlights on. No, it'll draw in the zombies. How are we supposed to fight if we can't see them? And the nice reveal that when he does turn the headlights on, there's 15 zombies in front of
15
it.
right there.
Yeah.
Mm,
So they fight their way out of that, though. They
yep.
are quite capable. I think maybe sometimes they commit to killing zombies instead of just leaving since they're so slow.
Yeah, and every once in a while though, he'll say like there was one scene where Brian said to Daniel, "Oh, like leave save your ammo 'cause
Well, he does
like
shoot one that's like 50 feet away
yeah, and it's
for
like
no reason.
why?" Yeah.
Yeah. And they're both low on ammo. They've acknowledged this too. But Daniel has brought an AK-47 and a big machete to this fight, whereas Brian's rolling around with his little pistol that he got out of the crate at the beginning of the film.
Mm.
So that's their entire repertoire. Eventually, Brian has two pistols in his belt, and I'm not sure where the second one maybe came from, but it doesn't really matter. Because the next thing that we see here is they run off into the bush. They run for a while until they, quote, haven't seen any for a while. And then that's when Brian says, I could really go for something to eat. And then that's when Daniel is brutally attacked and
But
like,
but even before they do this, he sets up all these things so that you're
yeah,
like, "Oh, yeah,
their
this
little
these
rope alarm system is 5 feet away from where they're sleeping.
yes.
Like, so, and they don't wake up when it goes off anyway.
No."
Because they're so tired, I guess. I mean, I get it.
Mm.
Like, it would be exhausting to be living like this, but you guys have to keep a watch. I don't think either of them would have thought, yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
It does feel just like I can't even bother anymore. Like let's just it'll be a mostly painless death, except for in Daniel's case, it's not. He gets bit like 4 times, and then Brian heroically carries him into the dawn, puts him against the tree, hears his last words, and Daniel dies very quickly after pronouncing what is he? He says something like, "This is the symbol, this necklace. It means hope. Give it to my son." Something along those lines.
Yes. And he had said that, like he had talked about before, and so I
But
guess
he's
we.
also calling Brian his brother. Don't be sad, brother. I'm going to go see my wife. And then he dies. But it's
Yeah.
like, well, I don't feel like we got to
No,
brotherhood.
I don't think we were there with these two. It definitely did not feel that
Maybe that
way.
was some of the scenes that they had to cut, if they cut anything.
Maybe.
But I don't think, yeah, they didn't quite get there. These guys mostly argued.
Yeah.
They didn't get too far from when it seemed like Daniel was going to shoot Brian,
Yeah.
but they had saved each other's lives, mutually saved each other's lives at least a few times.
Yeah.
And so it's touching, it's sad. I wasn't aware that he'd taken the necklace because it was still on Daniel's neck the last time I saw it until suddenly it appears in the final scene of the film.
Yeah. And
There's also some weird editing with this movie, like transitions. Like the scene where he's going to do the coup de grace for Daniel, the
yeah,
gunshot comes so much later than like suddenly he's walking away from the body and you hear the gunshot and see the and hear the
yeah.
birds. I don't know. It was just weird. It's a weird choice.
It was a weird choice for sure. And again, I think they missed out on an opportunity between these two to have some more like kind of heavily more meaningful scene, and they just didn't do that. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I guess they could have talked about their families, which they do. Like there's a scene where Brian's like, "Oh, I had a son," which he says wistfully, but I have a daughter and a wife. And I'm sure Daniel's just like, "Yeah, I mean, my wife's been eaten. My whole
mm,
village is dead, but my son is in theory at this military base." I don't know yeah, maybe wasn't enough for them to talk about that wasn't going to be like, "Yeah, your life sounds pretty good," or "My life sucks."
yeah.
Now we enter a stage of the film that is more of the heroic journey of Brian Murphy across the African landscape.
Oh no. It
Uh,
was so painful.
Things that happen during this sequence are he gets a baby, and
Yep.
37 seconds later, he gives away the baby.
Yep. It was like, why did you even do this?
Why
This
didn't
makes
he
no
get on the
sense.
damn bus with the rest of those people?
I don't know.
I mean, the reason why the Ford brothers do this is to cement Brian Murphy as a quote unquote good guy, right? Like he's a hero. He's our savior.
Hmm,
No?
maybe.
He saves that baby and he shoots the mom even though he doesn't want to.
Yeah, I guess it's to do the hero's journey with him, but it feels quite false. So that is just troubling for me.
Yeah. Well, luckily that baby is a doll for most of its scenes on television or on the screen.
Yep.
It was pretty good stuff. But he gives that baby to a passing car or truck full of people, and apparently they're not even going to consider taking him with them, which is kind of funny, but maybe they were going the wrong direction. He does sleep up in a tree, although he drops his gun. And I was kind of hoping that somebody would just walk along and pick it up. But no,
Yeah.
his gun was still down there on the ground the next day
Yeah.
when he got out of the tree. He climbs the Devil's Claw.
He
Uh,
does.
he kills a zombie nomad and takes their clothing so that he can complete his Lawrence of Arabia garb look, and then arrives at the military base
Yep.
after rolling down some dunes and looking very beset by the environment. So I mean, the end of this film, I think, is the most egregious, probably for you, HA.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Although
I'm
it also introduces some pretty cool story stuff for me, which is that so he fights his way into this fort and probably fights his way into this military base, which is it's encircled by zombies pounding on the wall. There are no soldiers apparently inside except for one older guy, and then there's a bunch of civilians inside these like cinder block buildings that are inside the wall. So Brian Murphy fights his way in, has a real hero slow motion pose and then is welcomed inside and everybody's like, I knew the Americans were coming. Which is just funny because it's just Brian. It's just Brian, and he's almost, I'm sure he's out of bullets and looking much worse for wear. Uh, there's no planes here. They were getting all their supplies by convoy, and they haven't been coming back recently. So that's probably done. And there's a radio though. So he does manage to get on the radio and manages to call America. What state was it? I forget where they were. It was like Nevada or somewhere like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
and he gets a hold of Frank Greaves, who he just happens to know personally.
yeah.
And Frank is like, "Oh my God, I thought you were dead. Oh, it's so good to hear from you. Listen, uh, things aren't going so well. The zombies are outside the office door. We're gonna try and leave, but we don't know where we're gonna go. Your family's dead. Over and out." I love that. Like to me,
Yeah.
that's some great zombie movie stuff right there.
Ugh.
I don't know that I like for a sequel, I could see that Frank Greaves didn't really know that his wife and daughter were dead, and that it would be the battle of Brian Murphy to return to the States and find his family. I would watch that
Maybe.
movie.
I don't know. I just don't care enough about Brian to like care whether he lives or not. And I did care about Daniel. It's like that felt much more tied in. Even the way that Brian talks about his family and has his weird little fever dreams about them
Yeah.
just doesn't feel genuine. And it may be just because his dialogue doesn't really do a ton to build that area up. But
And
Daniel's acting,
it's his background. Like he's a mercenary
yeah,
in a foreign country fighting a war that we don't know anything about. But it
yeah,
doesn't matter because there haven't been many great conflicts in Africa that where mercenaries have done like good stuff.
yeah,
So that like sets him up in a negative light.
right.
And you're right. Daniel is he's there fighting for his tribe. He is, most of the time he's quite put together with his uniform.
He cares about his son.
Cares about his son.
He has to make the hard decisions. It's like incredibly bad in terms of the decisions he has in front of him.
He's not into blasphemy.
No, he is not. Um, I don't know. I just think I'd be much more interesting. It would be much more interesting to see Daniel's um like story continue than
Where he doesn't
Brian's.
get eaten. Yeah. And also, I mean, we're told that Daniel's a good guy by the lady that he meets in the
Yeah.
village. She's like, "You were always a good boy."
Yep.
So nobody's there to tell us that Brian's a good boy. We just have to assume that he is, but I
I
don't
don't
think
think
we
he
do.
is.
And then so the zombies break down the wall to the airbase. Everybody runs out of the building that they're in. Um, so silly, but and then Daniel's son sees Brian holding the Timbu. Was it Timbu or Tingu? The necklace, and
Timbu,
which
which
means
means
hope,
hope.
jinx. And then he's just stands there staring at Brian, and
Hmm.
Brian walks to him. The sun is setting. It's beautiful golden hour backlit. There are zombies in theory all around them, but we can't see them. But it's pretty clear that Brian's his dad now.
Yep.
And that is just the nail in the coffin of any kind of moral high ground that
Oh
this film
gosh, it's
has.
so bad. It's so bad. So anyway, yeah, I definitely have some feelings about
Brian
this
just
film.
found out that his daughter was dead, so why not adopt
Yeah.
his best friend Daniel's son?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Look, yes, it's not perfect, but I really enjoyed this film. I loved this. I really like the lack of dialogue in a way. I like the fact that they let the landscape do a lot of the storytelling because it's just so bleak and impossible to imagine surviving there. I mean, you've seen Les Stroud have a hard time in places like this, right?
Yes, yes. But yes, I loved all those things about it. I just think that this was a real missed opportunity to have a very different kind of
Yes.
zombie film.
Have Brian Murphy get chewed to death, and Daniel
Yes,
has to go to America to save his wife and child.
that would be even better. Or just have Daniel stay and save the whole
Oh,
country.
yeah, sure.
So that would have been a little bit better. But anyway, I didn't make the film, and so I can't, like.
Well,
Yeah.
you're gonna love the sequel, which is when a white guy saves a bunch of Indians in India.
Yeah, I don't know that I can have it in me to watch the sequel. But I
Apparently,
do
there's
have it
another
in.
child element to that one too.
There is?
Yeah.
Great. No, I just don't think I can do it right now.
Okay.
Um, but I do think we can watch something else. So, but I forget what the name of
Oh, so the
it
film we're gonna watch
is.
next time is Dracula: A Love Tale, one of the most recent in a slew of Dracula movies that have come out in the last couple years. Or
Yes.
maybe there were just two of them, and I'm just thinking it was more.
It
But
feels like there
still,
was a lot.
two is still a lot. I mean, yeah, it was Nosferatu, Dracula: A Love Tale, Frankenstein, and The Bride all coming out within a year, 12
Mm-hmm.
months or 18 months. It does feel like kind of a lot.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, The Dead, 2010, the Ford brothers. And then if you watch the credits as they roll, there are a lot of people with the last name Ford.
Yes, there are.
Baby vocals in the doing the ASL, like the looping was one of the babies was a Ford.
Oh dear.
I think there were people on the airplane who were Fords, but then when you get to the cast of zombies, it is a block of text. Like it takes up the
Yes.
whole screen. There were
Yep.
entire families in that too, I think. Like a lot of people with the same last name, but they did not reuse a lot of zombies. I think they just used new people every chance they got. I think people were really excited to do this, but based on that, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what they were getting paid.
Yeah, but probably a fun experience to have regardless. So
Yeah. And then at the very end of the credits was like an impassioned plea for donations to an orphanage, which I think was in Ghana. No, it was in
right.
Burkina Faso. But so like yeah, hopefully this film was like generated interest, funds, anything good for the places where they shot it. I would hope.
Well, I mean, I think that they did hire and they used a lot of local talent to do a
Yeah.
lot of this. So I think that that is definitely great. I just would have liked to see a better story that is a little bit more centric upon that country. But, can't have everything. And um, in any case, I'm really looking forward to watching that documentary that we talked about, Black Zombie. So anyway, I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this. So you can drop us a line at reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. And very much appreciate you listening. So until next time, bye bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Reanimated Podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, please email us at reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. You can find the rest of our episodes online at reanimated.podbean.com. And you can often find us on Discord at the Brain Munchers Zombie Collective with a bunch of other zombie fans. Our intro and outro music is produced and recorded by Colin Diaz. Thanks for listening and come on back for more zombie content from Reanimated Podcast.